All right, welcome to this episode of JB&A Today. We are at our national sales meeting, getting ready to kick off an exciting year. We've got NAB coming up, and with me in studio is Tim Conway, President of Sales for Adder Technology. Now, if you don't know Adder powers the world's greatest KVMs. So it's all about leaving your gear in the rack and still having access to all your technology, just with a keyboard, mouse, and a monitor. It makes it easy. So, Tim, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
So, all right, so lightning round, a little bit about Tim.
Uh-oh.
So what was the first technology that you bought with your own money?
Oh, boy. I'd have to say probably 1984, in that range, probably 84, I would guess. You know, got a sweet boom box, dual cassettes with an equalizer.
Big D batteries?
Detachable speakers. Yeah, it took, 8 of them?
The best.
Right? Yeah. My mother's not going to watch this video, is she?
I don't know. We'll see.
Because she'll tell you I didn't pay her back for that, but I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah.
It happens. Mine I loved because I could record. That's how you made your first mixtape,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you record. You sit there all day waiting for the song to come
You got
on.
it. Yeah,
that was
right off the radio.
Yeah, for me it was old radio stories. I was able to pick up this AM station out of LA that would play the old 50s radio stories, and then I'd record those and make my own.
The Shadow Knows.
Ah,
right?
The Shadow. Yes, that was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, so coming out of that, what drew you to the technology field?
Funnily enough, I'm one of these probably oddballs in the technology world, in that I'm one of the least technical people that I know who makes a living out of the technology market. It's funny, my background was education-wise was in history. So I was a U.S. military historian with a focus on the Civil War. And people tell you all the time that salespeople are mercenaries, so I quickly learned that you don't make a lot of money in that field, and I transitioned. So
it happens to the best.
Yeah, here's the most honest answer I can give you right there.
No, that's awesome. Okay, so in case somebody doesn't know Adder, how do you explain Adder to somebody fresh?
Yep, absolutely. In terms of KVM, you mentioned it a minute ago, keyboard, video, mouse. It's the ability to control multiple computers from a single keyboard, monitor, mouse console, or in terms of extension, remotely locate your keyboard, monitor, mouse workstation away from the actual computer itself. It's a technology that's been out there for probably 30, 35 years or so, spans across all kinds of different vertical markets, whether it's the broadcast industry in terms of television, radio, post-production, into industrial control rooms, oil refineries, air traffic control. So applications across a wide breadth of industries. It's one of those things that a lot of people aren't necessarily familiar with unless they're in that market, but then you quickly learn that it's one of those key things that you really don't want to live without. Yeah. The big push for Adder is that we really see ourselves as being the IP KVM people. So we've taken the path of really moving into an IP realm in terms of KVM.
And I think that's one of your big differentiators, right? Because you don't need this big box that everything tunnels into. You're using the network.
Absolutely.
So build up a network switch, plug in the transmitter, plug in the receiver, and you're ready to go.
Yep.
And the nice part about that is the scalability factor. Then adding more points is just adding more transmitter receivers. Yep. And once you max the switch, it's adding another switch. So there's a nice scalability that your system has that some of the others don't.
Absolutely. And the traditional KVM mentality has been, we like to refer to it as sort of the crate mentality. As you were alluding to, you put the big chassis into your rack. But ultimately, you reach a flexing and a breaking point, a certain capacity that you can't scale beyond. And going in that IP realm, as you say, you can stack your switches, you can set up your switch topology. Let's face it, everything's going IP nowadays, right? Depending on whatever flavor it is that you happen to like and your company goes with, whether it's a Cisco or an HP or somebody else, they pretty much run the world and they do a very good job of things. So there's no point in us reinventing the wheel for the switching mechanism. We're experts in KVM and connectivity, so we do what we do, we run it across their backbone, and it becomes an infinitely scalable system.
That's beautiful. So who's this good for? If I were to start to talk about the different types of people using it, would I put this on the back of a TriCaster?
You absolutely can, no question about it. In terms of studio control, when you're talking about a system like that, you may not want the actual server itself right there in the same room. You get some background fan noise.
Oh, you mean like the ones we're hearing right now?
Exactly. I could set you up with an extender.
That's a good idea.
But you get that background fan noise out there, so the microphones aren't picking up on that kind of a thing. Back rack that, and that's exactly where KVM extension application comes into play.
Nice. I mean, so we look at other types of products, and there's a broadcast control room. Again, all the servers back in the back room.
Yep.
Now we got the multi-viewers, everything up close. And it does cut down on the noise, the amount of cabling. That's an amazing thing. What are the areas that you're seeing people put in KVMs right now?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on a couple of them before. It's interesting to see air traffic control systems, train, process control systems like that, oil refineries, all of these things. So as I was saying, across an industrial vertical, across more of that transportation control room type vertical, medical applications, we have customers who will use our products actually in operating rooms, because they can't have the computer with that fan in a surgical environment, but they actually need some computer control in the operating suite itself.
Nice.
So they'll use that extension technology to provide that. So across all kinds of different verticals, really.
Yeah. Now you have different types of KVMs in terms of dual monitor, single monitor, some with a built-in switch like the DDX line. So it definitely gives a lot of flexibility in terms of getting the right system.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about our Adderlink Infinity product really being sort of the enterprise level, and that's the flagship, kind of the sexy side of things. But equally, we have products that suit smaller desktop environments. Adder has long been seen as a company that really handles some niche applications. So products like our multi-screen desktop switches have long been huge sellers in medical imaging, for example, X-rays, MRIs, that kind of thing, and our command and control switch with our free flow technology that we have has taken off.
Now that's the CCS Pro 4,
it
right?
Is, yeah.
Okay, so talk about that one.
And
that
the
one's,
8,
and
the
the 8.
new CCS Pro 8.
This is the one that is, like we look at ours. We got right now over in the control room. We've got 4 monitors over there and a couple different servers. So the CCS series of products actually allows you to have one mouse and keyboard and just roll around the screen from computer to computer without having to hit any hotkeys, without having to switch. So you can run multiple computers, one mouse and keyboard seamlessly.
Yep, so you can have, in the case of the 4-port, it's easier to talk about. As you say, you've got 4 separate computers that a user is responsible for working on. We're taking the video directly from the computer to the monitor, and we're passing the keyboard and mouse or the USB through our switch. And all the intelligence is in our switch. There's no software that needs to be loaded on the computer, so it's non-invasive. And that user can now be working across 4 monitors, and as they slide that mouse from the frame of monitor 1 to 2, it'll seamlessly slide along. The switch knows that you're leaving that frame and automatically switches for you. So as you say, no hotkeys, no keyboard presses, it just slides back and forth. So we refer to that as free flow.
That's amazing, because I go into some editorial facilities where an editor and graphic designer would have a couple computer systems, and they might be rendering on one, doing textures on another, but then they're swapping back and forth constantly. And this would just, again, that free flow, which is a great use of that name, is really amazing.
People love it, and I tell you, the other industry that we've seen that explode in is in terms of control room environments is emergency 911 call centers. So you think in terms of that dispatcher sitting there with their headset fielding those telephone calls, they have multiple systems that they need to interact with, and their ability to slide back and forth as they're doing their job is huge. And that's really been embraced in that market.
No thinking, just doing.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay, so I sent you a couple questions, and I was thinking about it as, what are you guys doing this year? What's new? What are you prepared for at NAB? But we're really going to be able to wrap all 3 of those up in the next piece, which is an unveiling.
Absolutely.
Of something new.
Yes.
All right, so show us what you got.
Yep. So as I said, our Adderlink Infinity platform is our real flagship. It is our IP-based KVM, digital KVM matrix. Many people are probably familiar with it. It's been out there in the market for a number of years. What we're doing here and unveiling really this week in the lead up to NAB, and then really making a big push at NAB, is a campaign that we're referring to as Take Back Your Rack. The challenge with an Infinity-based system is that for every user, or for every computer rather, you have to have a transmitter, and each transmitter takes up half a U of rack space. So if you have a 600 computer matrix that you're installing, it's going to command 300 U of rack space. It's a lot of space. So we are very excited to be unveiling our latest transmitter in the Infinity line, which is a dongle-based 0U transmitter. You can see in the case of this one, it has a DisplayPort connector in USB. We're also doing it in DVI. A couple of great points about it. Obviously, the 0U, right?
Yeah.
That's the part that's probably arguably most attractive about the product. From a power perspective, You can actually power it from USB. So you'll see the red USB connector we have here. So one is going to be driving your actual USB content. The other one is for power only. In many cases, you don't have a problem with an extra USB port on there.
Absolutely not.
If customers wanted it, we do have an actual power connector on the front here.
Nice.
So they can do redundant power. And then the ability, really, with the way we've designed this from an industrial design perspective, it can obviously hang if you want it to. We've built in some sort of wasting on it here so that you can do some tie wraps, actual pass-throughs for tie wraps. So a number of different options for customers to be able to really tie up and clean up the back of their rack.
Oh, it's amazingly small.
Yep.
So you're right. It's taking that big transmitter down to just a dongle, effectively. The power usage is amazing. The fact that it can hang. I love how durable it is on giving yourself the ability to not stress over the, where this is dangling in the rack. So brilliant. I mean, and take back the rack. That's amazing because you effectively are cleaning up a ton of space and power, being that it's one less wall wart or or brick that needs to be in the system. But you also have a distributed power system. So if somebody's putting 10 or 15 of these in a rack, you've got a single RU circuit that can power them all.
Yep, we can power 16 of these off of that 1U.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yep.
So really highly tuned for application servers. So if we're running a playout server and we need to KVM that, I mean, this is just super simple to plug this in, put a transmitter on the other side, and you're ready to go.
Yep.
So, all right, well, listen, thank you for bringing this to me.
My pleasure.
I will promise to return it at some point. So again, actually, so take a look. We're going to put this on the bench in the next couple of weeks and put it up on the show. I really want people to see this because I think this really changes the KVM story because it definitely simplifies the rack or frees up the rack space.
No question.
On that side. This is awesome. Tim, thanks for being here. I'm excited for NAB, and this is going to be the hot showpiece for you guys at NAB.
Absolutely, making a huge push on this.
What's the booth number this year?
I have absolutely no idea.
Because you're moving.
We are much further forward in the hall. We'll be in the south lower hall, in the front portion of the hall.
So you're going to be over near New Tech.
Over on the right-hand side.
All right, this is awesome. Yeah, so you'll
hall.
be in a great place to be able to show this off and get some good traction. So excited to see your new position up there in the booth. Excited to show this one off to clients. This is killer. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nick.
All right,
Appreciate it.
talk soon.